Hey y'all, welcome back to Ramblin' Mama. I'm Lisa. Thank y'all so much for all the support with the JonBenet series. I never expected it to blow up like that. So I asked y'all in the community, I took a poll, and the Menendez Brothers was the case that most people wanted me to cover next. I'm going to split up this series into sections. The first section, I'm going to go over the family's backstory, get all the way up until the murder and what occurred that day. And in the subsequent video or videos, depending on how long they are, then I'm going to take a look at the trials and the aftermath, and then where the case stands today. So just a reminder that I am not an expert. This is just my opinion based on my research as well as the research of Molly Robichaux. Thank you again, Molly, for all your hard work. Second disclaimer is this case and the backstory has all kinds of triggers. There's SA, child abuse, there's a lot of stuff. So if you're sensitive to any of that, please click off now. Please make sure to support the channel by liking and subscribing. Jose Enrique Menendez was born in Havana, Cuba on May 6, 1944. Jose was the youngest child and the only son. He had two older sisters. Jose's father was a professional soccer player who enrolled in accounting school and started a firm after he retired from the sport. Jose's mother was a member of the women's national swim team and won multiple medals at the 1935 Central American and Caribbean Olympic Games. Jose's sisters referred to Jose as their mother's darling. He was apparently a spoiled, bratty child. His sister also recalled a time when she witnessed her mother molest her brother when he was a toddler. She felt the abuse continued even after her brother had started elementary school. Apparently, growing up, Jose did not face a lot of consequences for his actions. It appeared that he was taught that he didn't need to listen to anyone and that he was superior to everyone else. When the Menendez family lived in Cuba, they belonged to this very exclusive country club. In 1954, Jose set fire to the country club floor during a Christmas party. He was only 10 years old at the time. Jose's father paid for the damages, but his mother would not allow anyone to punish her son. As Jose got older, unfortunately, it seemed like his behavior only got worse. He was asked to leave two different schools and he was kicked off of his swim team. When Fidel Castro took control of Cuba, Jose became a very outspoken critic of him. Fearing for their family's safety because of Jose's outspokenness against the dictator, Jose's mother had him leave Cuba in 1960. He was only 16 years old at the time. Eventually, Jose's family reunited with him in the US, and they settled in Pennsylvania, which is where he ended up going to high school, and he was able to join the swim team. Jose had big dreams of attending an Ivy League school, but his family couldn't afford it. Instead, he attended Southern Illinois University. And it was while he was in college that he would meet his future wife, Kitty. Kitty Menendez's actual name is Mary Louise Anderson, and she was born on October 14th, 1941 in Oak Lawn, Illinois. She was the youngest child and had an older sister and two older brothers. Kitty's father was an Army veteran and he owned an AC and heating business, and her mother worked in the airport. There was a lot of turmoil in Kitty's early life. Her father was abusive and ended up leaving for a younger woman. And this had a drastic effect on Kitty. I think it was the type of thing where people who grow up in broken homes can sometimes absorb the message that to keep their family together at all costs is an imperative. I think people stay in these situations because they think a broken family is worse than a dysfunctional family. After Kitty's father left, it led her mother to start drinking a lot. Eventually, Kitty attended boarding school and Her sister was under the impression that there could have been some sort of abuse that led to the decision to have Kitty leave the home. The sister alluded to it being done by a relative. Kitty, like I said, went to Southern Illinois University, and there she would go on to major in communications. And I also read that her senior year, I believe, she won a beauty pageant. Jose and Kitty met while they were both attending SIL. Jose worked as a crew member on the campus TV station, and apparently they quickly started dating, and all of a sudden they were discussing marriage. At the time, Jose was a freshman and Kitty was a senior. Neither Jose nor Kitty's family were thrilled about this idea. Jose's family was religious, so they had objections to Kitty's parents being divorced. Meanwhile, Kitty's family was disapproving of Jose's Cuban heritage. But Jose and Kitty wouldn't listen. They went off and eloped in 1963, and together they relocated to New York City. Kitty had graduated and she was able to start working as a teacher in the Bronx. And Jose started studying at Queens College, where he majored in accounting and got a lot more serious than he was back at Southern Illinois University. He ended up passing the CPA exam and became a certified accountant when he was only 21 years old. So meanwhile, Kitty was teaching elementary school in the Bronx, and eventually she became a stay-at-home mom after having her sons, Lyle and Erik. Once Jose graduated, he went to work for Coopers and Lybrand, and he and Kitty rented an apartment in Queens. That is where they had their first son, Joseph Lyle Menendez. He was born on January 10th, 1968. Not too long after, their second son, Erik Gallon Menendez, was born on November 29th, 1970. And this was after the family moved from New York to New Jersey. In 1973, Jose was the CEO of Hertz, and it was while he was CEO of Hertz that he started earning this reputation of being abrasive and rude to his employees. When Jose left Hertz, he went to work for RCA Records. But Jose came under scrutiny when he sent a large amount of records to stores in order to make sales appear larger than they were. In 1986 alone, RCA was forced to honor $25 million in returned albums. Jose left RCA and went to work for Live Entertainment and moved his family to California. He purchased a home in Calabasas, but eventually the family located to Beverly Hills. 3 years later, Jose was working for Carolco Pictures, an independent film studio in LA. Over the years, Jose and Kitty's relationship began to deteriorate. Jose was involved in several extramarital affairs and would also frequent sex workers. Kitty was described as a woman who was in a lot of emotional pain and was depressed. Joseph Lyle Menendez went by his middle name Lyle. He grew up in the affluent suburbs of New York and New Jersey and attended Princeton Day School. Teachers of the brothers said that they were immature compared to their classmates. For example, at the age of 14, Lyle still wet his bed and played with stuffed animals. At an early age, Jose forced Lyle and Erik to choose a sport to excel in. Lyle played soccer and swimming before he decided to solely focus on tennis. When Lyle attended Princeton Day School, he dated Stacy Feldman, another tennis player. When Stacy graduated and moved away for college, she and Lyle broke up. At some point in Lyle's late teens, his hair began to thin, and out of embarrassment, Jose ordered him to wear a toupee, which he wore until the late 90s. When the Menendez family moved to California in 1986, Lyle initially stayed behind in New Jersey and applied to Princeton University. While Lyle was still in New Jersey, he started dating another tennis player named Jamie Pizarczyk, but the couple broke up in 1989. So Lyle was accepted to Princeton University, but he struggled through many of his courses. And whenever Lyle would bring up the idea of transferring to another school to Jose, Jose would shoot down the idea. Eventually, Lyle expressed an interest in leaving school in order to open up a restaurant, but Jose said he would never allow that. Eventually, Lyle was suspended for plagiarism from Princeton University. And after that, Jose got him a job where he worked at Live Entertainment. Jose treated him terribly and told Lyle that in order to see him, he would have to make an appointment. Many of Lyle's co-workers there didn't respect him because they felt like he was the boss's son and he had such a lackadaisical attitude. And it's true, he would skip work on nice days to go surf or play tennis. And a co-worker of Jose's filed a grievance against him, stating that if Lyle wasn't Jose's son, he would have been fired already. And it was then that Jose terminated Lyle's employment. In the spring of 1989, Lyle had two different girlfriends, Tracy Baker and Christy Hayes. He was born in November of 1970 and was raised in the affluent suburbs of New York and New Jersey with his brother, and also attended Princeton Day School, where his classmates said he was shy and withdrawn. His grades were average in elementary school, and later he was diagnosed with dyslexia and auditory processing disorder. So to give you one example of a type of auditory processing disorder, I'm not saying it's what he had, just giving you an example of what it's like. If someone is talking to you and in the background there's a lot of chatter, you're in a crowded restaurant or something like that, this person would have difficulty listening to you while that background chatter is happening simultaneously. When Erik was 15 years old, the Menendez family moved to California, where he enrolled in Calabasas High School. He became a popular student and a member of the tennis team. Erik became good friends at the time with a guy named Craig Signorelli. Several people who knew Erik in high school said that he was confident and charismatic. When the Menendez family moved to California, apparently Kitty ordered Erik to find a girlfriend within 6 months. She believed he was a homosexual and wanted him to prove to her that he wasn't. Erik started to date an older girl from high school, but it didn't last very long. Apparently, they were at a party and they got into a fight, and Erik locked her in a room and said he wasn't gonna let her out. She later said that Erik was one of the oddest guys she had ever met. Quote, "He's very arrogant, very confident, but deep down, he's got a lot of problems and insecurities." During his senior year of high school, that's when Erik's parents moved from Calabasas to Beverly Hills. It was then that Erik enrolled in Beverly Hills High School and joined the tennis team. He graduated from the school in 1989. Erik planned to attend UCLA in the fall and dorm there, but Jose would not allow it. According to Erik, his father told him, "He told me that my bedroom was going to be maintained and that I was still going to be living in my bedroom, that I would be coming home several nights a week to eat dinner so that we could discuss how school was going, so that he could help me with my work and make sure that my grades were staying up, that I was going to be sleeping at my bedroom during those nights." And we'll get into this later, but Erik said that what this meant to him was that the SA that he was enduring by the hands of his father would continue. Although Lyle and Erik seemed to be opposites in some ways, they were very close, and sadly, often when they got together, nothing good came of it. In 1982, when the brothers were about 12 and 15 years old, their cousin Diane stayed with them for a summer. One night, while playfully wrestling with our cousins, without warning, Lyle and Erik started to take off Diane's clothes. They only stopped when she started screaming. Another time, while watching television, Diane said Lyle started to touch her chest and only stopped when she freed herself from his grasp. In July 1988, Erik, Lyle, and Erik's friend Craig robbed the homes of the friends of Jose and Kitty's in the Calabasas area. They stole a large amount of cash and jewelry worth over $100,000. The amount that the brothers and Craig stole was enough to be grand theft burglary, a felony offense. The Los Angeles County detective that was on the case received a break when Erik was pulled over on a driving violation, and many of the stolen items were discovered in the trunk. Jose didn't want his sons to spend any time in jail, so he hired a well-respected criminal defense attorney. The attorney worked out a plea deal with the district attorney's office, which would absolve Lyle of any involvement if Erik took responsibility for all the crimes. Lyle was legally an adult at the time, but Erik was still a juvenile without any record. The attorney managed to convince the judge to only give Erik community service. Jose forced his sons to return all the belongings that they stole, and he wrote a check for each family for the items that they were not able to return in the amount of $11,000 to each family. After the robberies, the family started receiving some harassing phone calls, and allegedly Jose's tires were slashed on his car, but some people think it was Jose trying to save face, because soon after, Jose said he thought his family would be safer in Beverly Hills. That's when he moved his family there. Lyle was connected to 2 burglaries in New Jersey, which occurred in 1988. A confidential informant came forward and told the authorities that Lyle had confessed to committing the crime to him, but by that point, Lyle and Erik were already in prison for murdering their mother and father. Lyle's girlfriend told him that she was pregnant. Jose found out and spoke to her about it. According to Lyle, his father forced Christy to have an abortion, and Kitty confided in a friend that Jose paid Christy $100,000. After Christy had an abortion, Jose forced Lyle to end their relationship. Around this time, it was when Lyle was suspended from school, and the university sent the letter to Jose and Kitty letting them know, in addition to academic probation, Lyle was also on disciplinary probation. A reason for this is during a party that Lyle held in the residence room, the pool tables were broken. Jose and Kitty were really starting to lose patience with Lyle and Erik at this point. They threatened to even rewrite their wills and leave the boys out of it, because up until that point, Jose's will stated that if he and Kitty died, their sons Lyle and Erik would receive their entire estate. On August 19th, 1989, the Menendez family chartered a boat that went shark fishing. The boat's crew members said that they didn't seem to be much of a family. Jose stayed in the back of the boat the entire time. Kitty was below the deck, and the brothers stayed to themselves at the front of the boat. On August 20th, 1989, at 11:47 p.m., the Beverly Hills Police Department received a 911 call from the home of Jose and Kitty Menendez. The call was 2.5 minutes long. 1 minute later, a police officer and his partner arrived at 722 Elm Drive and saw the 2 men run out of the Menendez home screaming. The officers tried to obtain information from Erik and Lyle, but Erik was irrational and attempting to ram his head into a tree, and Lyle was trying to calm Erik down. Inside the home, the officers discovered the lifeless bodies of Jose and Kitty. When the homicide detective arrived at the Menendez home, he determined that Jose and Kitty were familiar with whoever killed them because there was no forced entry into the home. Okay guys, I'm gonna stop it here. The next section, I'm gonna get into the investigation, the brothers getting questioned, and the trial. I really love getting these cases out to you guys, and I'm so glad you appreciate it because I love doing it. Thanks so much for showing your support. I'll see you next time.